All right, Jason Rona back here at Tacoma RC Raceway. We're talking with Brent Telke with Team Associated. We kind of run through some interviews already this weekend. We talked to Spencer, who's your current world champion. He had his B6D with him. And we got Brent here. And Brent, talk to us a little bit about the new car. I know you guys kind of sprung this on everybody not too long ago, ran the EOS. Guys had a great result. Cavallari got the win out there, and now talk to us. This is kind of the first weekend on dirt, really officially.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of time with a car on dirt, so coming here, we had an idea of where we wanted to start. Obviously, a lot of success and setups with the B5M, and transferred a lot of that knowledge to this kit. And so we kind of started with a setup similar to what we'd run on that car, knowing all the different geometry changes and everything that we have here with the B6D. And just started there and have kind of worked together as a team. We got some guys down at OCRC in the stock nats, and Spencer here with me, and kind of among the group of us, we're going back and forth with some of the stuff we're learning, and it seems to be transferring really well from track to track and driver to driver.
You know what I'm seeing out there? Obviously there's a big group of guys that are extremely excited about a new car. There's the other people that are a little bit concerned why they didn't just get one thing or another. Can you explain a little bit to everyone really why you kind of had to do what you did here? I mean, I know you guys kind of went to the Worlds, and I know you guys obviously have a ton of success at the Worlds, but I mean the win there was amazing, and then I think you kind of had to go somewhere with it. Talk to us about how you kind of arrived at essentially a new platform.
Well, when we went to the Worlds, we knew that we were going to have a laydown version of a car, and the engineering staff associated with Curtis and Cody and those guys, they really came up with a nice version of the B5M that we were able to adapt to that racing surface. But it required a lot of hand fitting, some handmade parts, drilling stuff in certain areas, whether it was the weighted chassis or the arms or fully machined gearbox. And as we had success at that event, we learned a lot in that process. And through that, you start going down the line. You're like, well, do we do just a transmission? And you're like, well, it compromises this part. Do we just do some new arms or a whole new rear end? And we want to maybe be able to get the weight bias correct. And so when you start going down the line, the time that it takes to do those few pieces, you can basically do an entire new car in that same amount of time. So we took the extra few months to design and develop the reverse steering, the front end pieces, adding the adjustability there to the roll center, the new rear hubs, the new arms, the new chassis with the weights in it. And that was just the decision that we made that we thought the customers would want the most. There's a lot of options out there for the B5M with the laydown transmission that, some of them cost $50, some of them cost $250. And, that's not really our style. We want to provide the customer with an economical version of our product. So, the B6D and the B6 are a whole new platform, but it looks very familiar to the B5M user. So there's a lot of guys out there that have the B5M and have all the different option parts for it. And did they have to run right out and get the B6? Probably not. But as the car evolves, I think they'll choose to do that and get onto the latest program. Just with the versatility of the car, from AstroTurf to low grip dirt, you'll just really start seeing that shine.
There's kind of a little bit of a misconception, I think, sometimes where people just think you just throw a laydown tranny in the B5M and all of a sudden it's a magical difference. But there's a lot of small changes that you have to make along the way. I know you have an adjustable axle height hub carrier now. You got a lot of adjustability in the front end too. And talk about those adjustments and how they kind of work hand in hand with the laydown. I mean, and I think Associated Style would be, I'm sure that they would have made every effort to try to make the B5, but you just can't throw a laydown tranny in that car and call it good. Like it's a radical difference here, right?
Yeah, with the Worlds car, we had, again, some modified parts on there that maybe didn't show up in some of the photos. And, we can't expect our customers to do those. So, if you think back to that, we would have to remake those parts. So you might as well make a whole new part and a whole new platform. So we were able to adapt the weighted chassis, the axle height that you talked about. And those two things really are part of the key ingredients to running on the really high grip elements. Here at the dirt racing, we're really trying to learn those axle heights and the weight and all those different pieces. So, it's kind of the fledgling stages of developing those pieces of it. So I don't have a lot of information. I just know that the car drives really easy around the track, which I think is what a lot of people are looking for, especially on the high grip surfaces.
So going back to kind of the two different versions, there's obviously the B6D and the B6 to kind of clear up. We talked about briefly the differences and kind of clarify to everyone watching what makes one versus the other.
Yeah, there's basically three differences. You have the flat arms with a tower, and you have the lay-down transmission versus a stand-up transmission, and you have the ball differential versus the gear differential. So you take those three elements, you kind of take 2 out of 3 of those, and that's kind of the version of the car that you're running. So I'm running the flat front arms with the lay-down transmission and the ball differential, so we're referring to it as the B6D. If I had the gear diff in here, all of a sudden you'd have 2 out of 3, and it'd probably be more B6-esque. But what we've decided to do is offer the 2 different kits as just getting into whatever form of racing you want to do. The customers will determine which one they want. From what I've seen, most of the dirt racers will choose to get the B6D because I think the stand-up transmission is probably more versatile for most of the tracks out there. And then for $25, $35, you can get the different transmission case, the different idler gear, and the motor plate, and all of a sudden you have this version of the car that I'm running. So again, for a small price point, you can have either car. So I think that's what people will choose to do. They'll start with whatever surface they're on, and then get the other parts to evolve from there.
There's kind of a little bit of a debate out there. We've kind of went through it the last few years in terms of what condition are we racing on now, and kind of where it's all going and where it's all headed. Obviously there's some loud people on the internet that say I want to race in dirt, and they think the car's got to be dirty. But you guys have a Reedy outdoor race, you have a Reedy indoor race. Obviously there's more than one way to do this now. What are you seeing from you guys' perspective? And you just went to the EOS, and talk to you about your perspective, and then how Associated's going to kind of fit in with all the new surfaces.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting point in the off-road racing community. We've evolved into the carpet and dirt racing together. And from what we've seen over the years, just in the past 2 years with the B5, is for the most part the B5M is proven to be better than the rear motor B5. So we'll also offer the 4-gear transmission for the maximum rear grip for those guys that are racing on more of an outdoor, loose, double D type track. And I think they're going to be very pleased with the overall balance of the car. Just with the motor ahead of the axle, the car just has a really nice, solid feel, even on those bumpy tracks. And I think once we kind of get our team out there and the car is in their hands, I think we'll start developing those setups pretty quickly.
I think something that was kind of surprising to me, I think before, you guys went to the EOS, and then when you guys kind of showed up, I was thinking, how are these guys really going to do over there? You didn't really announce that you were going to go. You kind of just showed up. I mean, it's not like you went blind. I mean, you guys did some testing and stuff ahead of time, but what would you, say that had to do with your success there? I mean, obviously you did so well. I mean, obviously Cavalieri got the win, Neil got the TQ, Yona was doing really well, Spencer was right there. So, what would you attribute all the success to at that race?
I think it's just our style to go into an event prepared. We're not going to show up running something for the first time. So obviously all the work that we did with the B5M Worlds car transferred really well into the B6. We were able to get together as a group a few times and run at 702 Raceway up in Las Vegas, and learned the parts of the new car that we needed to, and ran it against our Worlds car, and we're confident that we were on that same pace. So in our minds, we went to the race running the B5M Worlds car, but just in a new package version. And showed up to the race. Cody and Sean Cochran, they built some cars for Neil, Yona, and Yoakum, And those guys put the electronics in, threw down, and just were amazed the first time they drove the car. So a little bit of a risk, but we were confident, and it paid off.
On this particular vehicle, you kind of alluded to the fact that there's going to also be a 4-gear transmission. I don't know if there's really a lot of information about that out there already. I know the car, in all these configurations, really runs the same body, which is kind of nice. So no matter what configuration, transmission that you run, you can really run the same style body. You don't have to have multiple ones. But talk about the way this car looks. It's a little bit different than the way the B5M it looked and the previous generations. And how do you kind of put together the whole visual side of the car here, and what is it like when you're driving it?
Yeah, we have a body that's very similar to the J-Concept Silencer, which is the world champion body that Spencer Rivkin used and most of the team used at the event. So again, based upon the development from that car, we wanted to have a similar look and a similar handling feel around the track. So if you take the body off here, you can see underneath that there's a lot of room and a lot of versatility when it comes to transmission placements. So we have the lay-down transmission here, and with that you get a couple different battery positions. We have the weighted pockets. You're running the aluminum plate here underneath the electronics, and then nothing underneath my servo. But I do have some brass weight underneath the battery to get the car up to a legal minimum weight. I'm running at about 1530 or so. So just with a few screws across the bottom, you can change any of those items. We have the 6 screws here for the transmission plus the waterfall. When you run the 4-gear, you're going to run just these 2 and these 2 and this position here. You can see the tiny screws at the bottom. This is what holds in the weight down there. So if you are building a new car or you want to change it to a different car, you just take those 4 screws out, drop it into your other car, and 20 minutes is saved right there just from setting up the electronics. So the versatility of the car is really, really well thought out. Cody did a great job of incorporating all those pieces, and again, it's a lot of the stuff that we did at the Worlds that instead of modifying a B5 part, we chose to make a whole new part in a whole new car.
All right. Well, for the people that really are kind of wondering, the big question is when are we expecting this car out there, and when can it be purchased?
Yeah, from what I've heard, June. I've been famous on the internet saying June is 30 days, so I would look later in June. But we're working as hard as we can to get it out to the customers. A lot of good feedback, a lot of excitement, but we also want to make sure that's right the first time it's out to the customers. So be patient, enjoy your B5Ms for now, and keep following us on the internet and on the World Wide Web, and we'll have more information for you.
All right, well, that's Brent here with Team Associated at the J-Concept Spring Indoor Nationals here at Tacoma. He's the TQ right now in the 40-plus division with this vehicle. He's also running well in the regular Pro Mod 2-wheel class, and you got Spencer sitting up top right now in the standings in that class. So we'll see. We got one more round of qualifying, see if he can do it again, and have another great debut here for the car. Thanks, Brent.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks for everybody that's out there supporting the product, buying the Associated and Reedy stuff. Thanks for J-Concept for the race, Tacoma RC for hosting, and see you guys next time.
Thank you.